Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you see this. This is weekend morning for me. This is sort of a passion project for me, wanting to just explore new music, continue to explore new music, which can be harder and harder as the days go on and the days shorten, the time shortens, and everything seems like they don't have enough time. So if that's something you appreciate, you can share with me, I'll share with you. Create basically a community here where we can explore new music and talk about it and do all the things we used to do when we had tons of time, more time than we could handle. So let's get into the next one, which is going to be, and I put this in the progressive rock, although I don't know at the time. Nowadays we'd put it more in the electronic, maybe electronic prog. But I'm going to put in the prog rock because I'm not doing just strictly electronic, anything that's like synthesizer based or anything like that, or use synthesizers. So we're going to jump into, this was a 1971 release, June 15th, called Zero Time, with members Malcolm Cecil and Robert Margouleff on keyboards and synth. And this is the band Tonto's Expanding Headband. And the track is Cybernaut. And this is going to be our second piece for the prog rock. And here we go. All right, real quickly. So they've changed key. This will be their third key change on this, and yeah, so far it's just fun listening to all the textures. So you got the sort of synth bass line, you've got the melodic line, or even sometimes two melodic lines going on, and then you've got sort of the percussion-esque sort of little sort of sounds. You've got like clicking sounds, and they kind of move around. So anyway, it's nice. They create the space, you really hear the space. Anyway, yeah, I love this stuff. It's such a 1971. This is I believe their first album, and I'll go into it afterwards, but let's continue. I'll rewind it a little bit. This is the second half of the song so far. I think they're going to go into a little bit more, change it up. So far, yeah, 3 different keys. So yeah, they really kicked it up that second half. The layering, the different melodies, sort of, or call and response melodies and harmonies with the different synths and keyboards, and then you had those sort of percussive sounds. Kind of sound like hitting pipes, hitting sort of water pipes, but it kind of went across the spectrum. You feel it kind of running across the line. And then basically it's in the progression. It's basically like a minor. It's like a minor blues. It goes to the turnaround chord. So it's basically a very simple chord progression. Once they ended up with on the second part. But so that's Zero Time by the song called Cybernaut by the Tonto's Expanding Headband, which stood for the original neo timbral orchestra, Tonto. And that was what they called the machine, or the group of machines, the group of synths and moogs and everything else. So, if you haven't heard them before, I've heard some of their album before. I've heard this one a few times, so I am a little bit familiar with, the sounds and everything like that. So, but I mean, it's amazing. I think it needed to come out, especially in 1971, and it became such a for some people, I don't know how widespread it was, how many people knew about this, or if it was just sort of on the outskirts, like, oh, there's that weird sort of synth album. But obviously, I've just started to go back in the past couple of years and explore the more like the electronic music that was coming out, and prior to this, and krautrock and all that stuff. And while most of my life I was sort of not with that group of sort of, let's do electric, let's explore the synths and all that. And I think even like Queen, I remember on one of their albums said that no synths were used in the production of this album. So there was sort of a definite anti-synth aesthetic or belief, ideology of that time with bands. They wanted to sort of be more organic, and obviously, the musicians oriented and not the machines. But now when I go look back, I really do appreciate, especially some of the originators of the electronics and the machines themselves, how they evolved. And I definitely hear stuff in different genres that it's just like this. It's a voice. It sounds beautiful. The way they put it together. So with this one specifically, they I guess the idea for this machine came out in the late 60s, early 70s. They said they designed it on a tablecloth in New York in a Cuban Chinese restaurant across the street from Media Sound. Came up with the idea of building this instrument as the first real-time performing electronic music instrument. And actually, we made the first album, is actually the first alternative album, I guess, in 1971, wasn't it? Yes, 1971. That was put out by Herbie Mann, if you know him in jazz, and the great flutist, who had a label called Embryo, which was distributed by Atlantic back then. And that was how Stevie Wonder came to find us, was through that album. He rode up to Media Sound one day with the album under one arm, and a friend in the other, a fellow called Ronnie Banco. We started then. I think the first album we did was Music of My Mind, was the first album we did with Steve. And they ended up doing basically all of the voicings for whether he was playing them, but they came up with a lot of the voices for those keyboards and synths for a lot of his sounds on those albums, from Music of My Mind, for Talking Book, for Intervisions, for Fulfilling This First Finale. So from 72 to 74, they did the music. They did much of the sounds that you hear for Stevie Wonder for those major albums. So for that alone, their work and their is unmatched in this field. And they did a lot of other recordings too with other artists. They did something with Richie Havens, with the Doobie Brothers, with Gene Parsons, Randy Newman, Ravi Shankar, and Wilson Pickett even. And then did some of their own albums also through the mid-70s, early and mid-70s. So they had like 4 more albums, I believe. Anyway, but this is their first, called Zero Time. And lastly, what started as the Moog Modular Synthesizer Series 3, owned by record producer Robert Margouleff, later second Moog 3 was added, then 4 Oberheim, 2 ARPs, a module from Sergey with Moog-like panels, an EMS, a Roland, a Yamaha, several modules, and then later digital sound generation circuitry, a collection of sequencers were added, along with MIDI control. All of these are housed in a semicircle of curving wooden cabinets 20 feet in diameter and 6 feet tall, which I will have a picture of that somewhere up here as you see it. So, just an amazing structure, an amazing unit put together by them, all for the purpose of just creating this sort of beginning wall of electronic sound of Tamburo, the first electronic orchestra per se. So yeah, I felt like I needed to include that, even the prog rock, although I don't know if I'd consider it rock. It's not in the literal sense necessarily, but definitely in the sort of outskirts of rock experimentation, anything that goes that. And I say, no, if you can have the stuff that any of the other prog rock bands did to that were on the outskirts. If you consider the spacey stuff of Gong, and that's prog rock, then this certainly can fit into that too. So if you appreciate hearing new music, there's going to be some there in there for everybody to explore a little bit, just like I did. So, and it's worthwhile, So please don't just jump and listen to the well-trodden songs that we all do, and embrace them again, which is great. We can all listen to the stuff that's, stands the test of time. But, let's shine a light to some of the ones that, put in so much effort, so much musical ability, and maybe didn't get the immediate credit or longevity that other groups did. So that's what we're here to do. So anyway, I appreciate you all coming here. Please, any comments would be, love to hear them. Love to hear your opinions on other groups, on these groups, if you heard them, stuff you heard recently that you didn't know, any stories, of your, how you approached this genre, or that time of music. So again, appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.